robots took my podcast, man.
When I first saw you, this time, at Walt's, I was hoping to show you that I was your father. You showed me I was.
How can you have two fathers? Just lucky, I guess.
I could never heal up what happened. I can't even hardly remember what happened. It's like a gap.
Have you seen Jane or talked to her? We thought you were dead, boy.
How long have I been gone, do you know?
4 years.
Is 4 years a long time?
It is for a little boy.
There will be no safety zone. I can guarantee you the safety zone will be eliminated.
What's out there?
I gotta go away now.
Why?
Because I'm gonna find her.
How's it going?
I want to find her too.
I knew these people. They were in love with each other.
She's leaving the bank.
He was kind of raggedy and wild. She was very beautiful, you know? And he loved her more than he ever felt possible.
The winner of the Golden Palm at the Cannes Film Festival and one of the most acclaimed films of the decade.
Harry Dean Stanton, Nastasia Kinski, Dean Stockwell, Aurore Clement, and introducing Hunter Carson.
Paris, Texas.
Is there something, I don't know, is there something I can do for you?
Paris, Texas.
We should put this live and make this a podcast, you guys.
I know. Oh, God help us if this were live. I mean, yeah, we have to check Wikipedia and, I don't know, take a pee break. I mean, yeah, it's a...
So I do van camping. Since you speak of a pee break, I'll give you a hint. I do van camping, which means I'm in a van that's not a real camper van. It's just my Honda Odyssey that I modify. And I have like a cot and like, a little table and stuff in there. Drag it all in and out of the garage when I want.
Wow.
But anyway, here's the thing about van camping. There's nowhere to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So speaking of potty breaks, what you do is you go for your hike and you drink one of those big things of Gatorade. And then you just put it right next to the cot when you go to bed, and there's your bathroom. It's very simple.
Problem solved.
Problem is solved very quickly.
If you need to pee at any point during the podcast, just let us know.
I've got a Gatorade bottle.
That's what editing is for.
I'd be lying if I hadn't done that on very long road trips and I didn't want to stop.
It's like road trips are road trips.
I peed into a beer bottle one time, and it doesn't hold a whole...
And then the bartender was like, Jordan, what are you doing?
He was the bartender.
That's true, yes.
Yeah,
that's true. I was like, don't ask me questions.
It ended up that he was actually the bartender behind the bar. He couldn't take a break because his boss was such a douchebag, he didn't give any help to Jordan that night. That's what happened.
And that tracks for the elbow room.
Oh, dude, I love the elbow room, but that place was terrible.
I have blood, sweat, and tears from there. PTSD from that place.
Oh, man.
That's true, yes.
And remember
but I got there because of your ex-wife, yes.
Yeah. A little early in the podcast to talk about exes, Jordan.
Already?
I'm sorry. We talk about your exes in Texas. Sorry.
Still in Texas.
Sorry, old buddy.
Probably my next ex will probably still be in Texas.
So, Jordan, do you want to kick us off?
3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took my podcast. I am Jordan.
And I'm Anthony.
Anthony, we have a guest today, my old friend since 2001, and he made a zombie movie in your home on a cell phone. We have to bring that up because,
That's true.
Anyway.
It's been a minute.
Hunter Carson is our guest today. Hunter Carson, actor Hunter Carson, director, producer.
Triple threat, quadruple threat. Yeah.
Is my guest today. A friend of the podcast, Triple Threat.
So
friend of the podcast even though he hasn't really been on here, we've
yes,
we've
an old friend of the
mentioned you, I
podcast,
think.
just like Jay Leno to the Tonight Show. No,
you
just
have
joking.
mentioned
Anyway.
something. You have mentioned something there that I will claim the title of the 3-time. I will claim the title of the 3-time with Paris, Texas, and with Invaders, and with Cheaters. And I'll tell you that all of the other projects I did in between of all those are wonderful, and I love them dearly. But I will claim to be the 3-time. I don't think I'm going to get a 4-peat. I think I'm
So
going to.
those are the credits that you will take to your grave, basically.
Those are the ones that are on my tombstone. Yeah. Those are the ones that are on my tombstone.
And why not? Why not?
Never say never, though. You know,
you got me a job at Cheaters for a while.
I did.
Even I worked with you over there for a little bit.
That's right.
And, it was crazy. It was a crazy place, that Cheaters place. That's all I'll say. I don't know. We can maybe go into that later on. But you now is it fair to say that you started the first time you were ever made an appearance was on Saturday Night Live with your mommy, Karen Black, taking you out with her on stage as the host, and I think you were maybe 3 or 4 months. This is October 1976, I think.
I'm a year old.
And is that your first appearance ever? Essentially,
yeah, basically
on anything.
Yeah. That would do it. I mean, you don't get many appearances at that age,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
that's what got you your SAG card there.
That got me. Well, that's just an in. You just need an in. You can't get the SAG card on the first one. You know that. You gotta get in a few.
Yeah.
So I think Lorne Michaels called Vim, said this kid's got it going on. And 30 seconds later, he's a star, and Vim came and interviewed me for.
This is before Vim even cast you in Paris,
that's
Texas.
Right.
Yes.
This was a good time. Okay, so October 76. I was, 10 months old.
10 months.
I was
okay,
10 months old.
That would make sense.
It's actually interesting. I was going back through a timeline on this part of my life. So unbeknownst to me, we had moved in the first 12 months of my life. We had moved from a house on Laurel Canyon where my mom and Lee Purcell were living. And
Lee Purcell, the actress Lee Purcell.
Yes, the actress Lee Purcell.
Wow.
And my mom married my dad, Kit Carson. And then we moved over to Hancock Park. So at that age, I was in the beginning of a transition from, being up on Laurel Canyon near Uncle Jack into being down in Hancock Park near Muhammad Ali, as a matter of fact.
When you say Uncle Jack, what do you mean?
I would mean Jack Nicholson.
What? Oh, Jack
wow.
Jack Nicholson, who referred to your mom as Blackie.
Yes, they have.
Is that true?
They have. I think that they have had the best charisma on camera of any of the people that she worked with. You know what I mean? So, because
I agree, they were great together in Five Easy Pieces.
5 Easy Pieces.
It's one of those things. Jack Nicholson's character wasn't in the same part of Easy Rider as my mom, so they didn't actually get together when they were on that set. They were meeting in and out of.
Oh, that's right.
Because they were doing.
That was the first movie they did.
Western. That was the first movie, but it was because it was Hopper and Fonda's brainchild. They were kind of running and going, so they never put the two of them together until, I guess, 5 Easy Pieces. But no, maybe they made a Western together. Anyway, sorry,
They were in a movie also called Drive, he said, later on with Monty Hillman, so it does get confusing.
Oh, it's Monty. I met Monty Hillman. All right, so back to 90.
Oh, you met Monty.
He's wonderful.
Wow.
Before he died, I met him. He was 90 something.
May he rest in peace.
Absolutely, he's great. He's one of those mavericks that we miss. But anyway,
definitely.
Back to 1976. Sorry, Jordan, that was a good tangent. There you go.
Sorry, I'm just taking you off here.
Won't be the last.
I know.
You know him. Just kidding. 76 SNL, and what was your next big role?
My next big role was I did a camera test, and I actually remember this. When I was 5 or 6, they brought a camera crew in and they dressed me up, and I walked down some stairs in my house. But that's the vaguest of memories. Then it was Paris, Texas. I got cast in Paris, Texas.
Paris, Texas, yes. This
by
movie.
Fred Roos.
Fred Roos from the Coppola company of people, stock company of people.
Yeah, I think
Fred
he was like the Zoetrope casting director for
Yeah.
Zoetrope. I think you're right, Jordan.
Wow.
I'm not sure if you're right, but it sounds right.
Hmm.
Paris, Texas, directed by Wim Wenders, written by your dad, or adapted by your dad, Hunter Carson, from a story by Sam Shepard, the actor, writer Sam Shepard, playwright Sam Shepard.
And this is its 40th anniversary. Yeah.
Correct.
This will be this movie came out, October or August of 84? So this will be its 40th anniversary this year.
Yep.
Allison Anders, the director, who later did Grace of My Heart and Gas, Food, and Lodging, worked on this movie even because she was a big fan of just notable people working on this movie.
Lots of
and
notables.
you worked with, my God, the legends, Harry Dean Stanton.
The great one.
And Dean Stockwell.
Mhm.
My God,
Mhm.
what memories do you have of Harry Dean Stanton?
Harry Dean Stanton kind of taught me how to act in a way.
Yeah.
I had come from a home of improvisation, and Harry Dean kind of brought me into the moment, I would say.
Interesting.
I did like a screen test with him, and he sort of helped me sort of get in the mood. We kind of did like a silly thing. I think he was drinking a glass of water, I was drinking a glass of water, and we poured it on each other's heads. We were just trying to sort of get
how adorable,
acclimated. And so what he was trying to do was bring me into the moment so that the lines that I was reading from, because you read from a piece of paper when you're a kid, everybody does.
Yeah.
But he and I were reading from a piece of paper, and he kind of just tried to get me into the moment because I don't know, maybe I was, 7 years old, so I was probably not paying attention to the moment, paying attention to something else extraneous. But he sort of brought me in. We did this little water gag, and it just sort of clicked, and I sort of got the fact that the words were current, and they weren't sort of an improvisation of whatever I wanted. They, because you're a kid, so you kind of still think whatever you want. So then
he was such an underrated talent.
He was an underrated talent. So he would bring you he brought me into the moment, and then he just kind of sculpted that moment so that he told me that I should talk to him as if I was his son and if he was my dad, as if I was. And so that made a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. When I got the idea that it's not real, that it's just sort of pretend, it worked really well. And so that's his first foray into teaching me how to act, but he was wonderfully kind on the set. He spent a lot of time with me. He worked very hard in rehearsal with me.
Yeah.
It was an on-set relationship with Harry Dean and I.
Mm-hmm.
I was in several things with him, Fairy Tale Theater, like I know we're going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, we were getting to that.
Mr. North, I think Harry Dean was instrumental in getting me seen in that movie. He was in that movie first, and I really think that he pushed hard for me. I mean, I imagine the casting director.
I forgot he had a small part in that movie, right?
I think he was the butler.
That's right. The Mr. North from 1988, starring Anthony Edwards.
Yep.
And you had a part as a character called Gulliper Steele. Am I correct?
Yeah, Galloper,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like, back to Paris, Texas. I have to say, I watched this movie the other night. I rented it on Amazon. So there, you got a residual.
Thank you.
And
no, Vim owns it. I don't get any money from that.
Okay. Vim got a residual then. Wim Wenders, the director. But man, your performance in this, I know we're old friends and all, but I have to say, man, you deserved an Oscar for this movie. Yeah. I thought your performance is really great in this movie. I was moved by this movie once again, watching it as an adult, as a parent. Yeah. This movie's deep, man. This movie, I love the fact that Wim directed it, because it's a European coming to America in a foreign country, directing a kind of European style movie. It's a very dreamlike story of a man estranged from his wife and kid. And I feel like Paris, Texas is kind of a dreamlike movie in a sense. I have deep theories about this movie. I'm sorry. Anyway.
What's your theory, Jordan?
I feel like this movie is inside the character Travis's head, possibly. And it's a dream. It's his dream. Maybe he didn't actually reconcile. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is his dream of reconciling. Maybe he's still in the desert. That's
interesting.
It's a weird theory I thought about. I don't know, watching this movie again. I know I went deep here, but this movie brought out everything that I always love watching an art house film or a European film, where it's deep. It's got the landscape. It's got the beautiful cinematography by Robbie Mueller.
Yeah. Well, Hunter.
And great direction by them. But I mean, is Harry Dean maybe partly responsible for your great performance here? Do you think?
I have no idea, man. I mean, it was just it was what it was. I mean, you got to understand. Like sometimes we didn't shoot for months. Like we shot in like August
Yeah.
and September, and then we didn't shoot in like October, and then we went to Texas in November, and it was a kooky shoot because it was really kind of falling apart the whole time.
I only became aware of this
wow.
recently. There was money problems on behind the scenes in the movie as far as
Yeah,
keeping
Vim kind of talked about it finally, but I mean, everybody kind of knew that they were making a movie that shouldn't be made. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was Wim Wenders, a European director in America with no names at all, like
yeah.
an honest rejection of it. You know what I mean?
Harry Dean and Dean Stockwell, like good character actors, but not not big draws on the marquee.
I think, Anthony, you hit something there, though. I think that the whole point is that they're character actors.
Yeah.
You got to also look at the assistant director on that is actually an extremely talented director. Dean Stockwell's wife, Aurora, in the movie,
Aurora Clement.
Yeah, right. She's incredible, and it's one of those.
She was in Apocalypse Now, also.
She's
redo.
She's in all sorts of stuff. She's directed her own stuff. She's written her own stuff. She's really talented. But what I think I've thought over the years is that Vim only had what he had, and I think that that's the beauty of his ability as an auteur, is to create something from nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's inspirational right there. Because if it truly was, I mean, they're just filming in real locations here. It could have been a play. It feels like a Sam Shepard. It feels very much like it could have been shot on a set, on a stage. So it's relying on the actors to do all the hard work, which they do. It's very moving. I'm
sorry, Anthony. You wanted to ask Hunter a question here, I guess.
I have lots of questions for Hunter, Jordan. No, but well, I was wondering. So, as a kid, it's a challenging movie for adults to watch, I think. Were you aware of the adult nature of it, the sort of that complex, dramatic element to it as a kid?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that movie, for me, there wasn't like a green room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There wasn't like it was all of us sort of improvising with what the bones that Sam had put down, and that then we would go and improv, and then Kit and Vim and Harry Dean and the assistant director, and I can't remember her name, but she's a true genius.
Is it Allison Anders?
Would sort of no, she was a PA.
No. That's right.
Allison Anders was a PA.
That's right. What am I talking about?
If you watch the movie, when I get picked up in the car, when my friend and I get picked up in the car, she's the PA driving the car.
Oh wow!
But
so they were workshopping this on set. Oh, go ahead.
They were workshopping it on set. That's exactly right, Anthony. And so I'm not. It's tough to sort of answer it, because it was bones, and then we put the words on it in rehearsal. That's sort of what it really became. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
This almost sounds like like the way Coppola worked in the early days, where Coppola would start a movie, and just his idea was, if everybody knows I'm making the movie, then everything will fall into place. And Vim maybe did the same thing here. Kind of just am I wrong? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's the vibe I'm getting. You were there, not me.
Yeah, but I'm 7, and
I know, I get it.
Well, maybe that's just his style. Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of documentaries too, where you gently push reality to make a documentary, but then you have to let it unfold on its own, and just you find the interesting part of that. So, I mean, whatever it was, it worked. Whatever magic formula was there, like you and Harry Dean had tremendous chemistry, especially the scene where he's across the street and you're...
Oh, yeah. Y'all have magic on screen, old buddy. I have to tell you, man. I'm amazed,
It was definitely he and I. It was definitely had something to do with that, and everybody kind of just accepted it and moved on. Sometimes I wonder if, Harry Dean was like, neurodiverse, like, because he was a character actor.
Yeah.
he was not exactly comfortable being Harry Dean.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Interesting.
and so there's a lot of mental stuff going on, because what are you getting?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
got what you got, and you can see Harry Dean's performances over the years be affected by his slow desertion of life. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But was that something that was mental? Was that something that was his childishness with me? Did it have something to do with Harry Dean, or was he acting? And I can't even answer that question. And I don't know if a lot of people that acted with Harry Dean would be able to, because there's some part of him that was playing. Like, he would sometimes break in the middle of a scene and kind of smile and laugh at you like, this is a joke. And you're like, but the cameras are rolling, man.
Yeah.
He
No,
was
it's
just
funny.
having fun.
He was a nutty guy.
Interesting fella.
Yeah, we talked about him.
I was gonna say, Anthony Wright. We talked about him with John Binder, who directed him on this
John
movie
Binder,
Euphoria.
right? That's right. You told me that.
Director of Euphoria.
And he talked about how he had wanted Fred Ward's part on the movie, and he would bug him every night, late at night, after drinking and smoking a joint, drinking some whiskey, smoking a joint. He'd call him up and be like, hey, it's not too late to change your mind about casting me in the lead. And you wondered, like, why did he do it? Like, why? And I think John Binder was confused as how to deal with him himself even. But apparently it took an AD to tell him, Harry Dean does this on every movie. He's like, he's playful on every movie.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, there was an element of him that was just a kid having fun.
I think you're right, though.
I'd love to have a beer with him.
Yeah.
He's probably top 10 of celebrities I'd like to have a beer with. Just to unpack that or try to.
We went to Sundance in 2004, which was the 20 year. And we were all there except for Nastasia, which was like, I don't know why she didn't come. But
did you guys party?
Drinking with Harry Dean, exactly.
It never ended. I would be asleep in the corner of the bar, and Harry Dean would come over and wake me up and be like, they're kicking us out. I'm like, why? They're like, because it's 5 a.m. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
What do you mean? It's 5. I'm asleep. Come on. Anyway. No, drinking with Harry Dean, that was a good one. He drank at the Elbow Room, as a matter of fact. He had a drink at the Elbow Room because we got kicked out of the mansion. Did you know that? We got kicked out of the mansion.
You got kicked out of the
mansion in Dallas?
The Turtle
my
Creek
God.
Mansion,
wow.
Yep. Harry Dean and I were wearing blue jeans.
Which is a hoity-toity place for those who aren't in Dallas.
Harry Dean and I were wearing blue jeans and sport coats, and they were like, sirs, this is not really appropriate. And Harry Dean was like, where do we go? And I was like, let's get some pizza at the Elbow Room. I'm serious. And he was like, I love pizza. Let's go. Do they have chicken wings? I was like, yeah, they got chicken wings. Let's go.
That place I used to work at. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they had great
Where was
pizza
I?
there.
How did I miss out on that? I knew you
were
back
in LA.
then. Was I in LA or was I? Oh, dang.
Wow.
I totally missed out on that one. Oh.
It happens.
The Elbow Room would get strange celebrity traffic. People would come
It
by
really
there all the
would.
time. I don't know why.
Celebrity traffic, it's true.
No joke. We had Screech in there one night. And
Yep.
could not get a ride home. I'm not joking. That is a real... I wasn't there.
There's
that
a
night. I
pun
found
in
from
there
somebody
somewhere
else.
that
Yeah,
Screech
there's-
couldn't get a ride home.
Yeah.
That's right. But so going back to Paris, Texas, God, what a monumental film that I think even today is still relevant and people still talk about in a weird way. It's like indie gold.
I feel like
Mhm.
I understand this movie now more as a parent than,
Yeah.
as having a child now than I did when I watched it, going through my art house phase as a teen, watching it. Although it moved me back then too.
Yeah, it definitely changes on you.
Yeah, exactly. That moment with you and Nastasia Kinski, the moment with you and Nastasia Kinski at the end is really beautiful, man. I mean,
Yeah.
the way y'all embrace and you, I mean, that is your mommy. You're discovering her for the first time. What a moment. I mean, my God, you should have been in the Star Wars prequel.
Oh, goodness. That's
They've
too much
done it
pressure,
early.
man. Come on.
Yeah, no joke. That's
No,
tough.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But no, that's just a
But-
beautiful moment.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
really is.
It's a beautiful
I feel like
film.
the Star Wars prequel kind of ripped it off, actually.
Has your understanding of the film changed as you've had children and grown up? I don't know how often you've watched it. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and it still is impactful for me. But
I've seen it probably 5, 6, or 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
It has changed on me. You know, when I was a kid, it just made me a little uncomfortable, honestly.
Yeah.
And then I watched it. I want to say I watched it as a young adult, maybe teenage 20s, a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really beautiful. And I realized how beautiful it was. And that I just was kind of taken aback by the fact that I hadn't ever noticed. Like, it's fabulous.
It's not just you, though. It is a beautiful movie.
It's gorgeous. And then I remember seeing it in 04 with Vim, and I sat and I watched it with him because he had color corrected it. And I'm not going to get technical, but
Interesting, yeah. No, we talk about technical stuff on here, so.
the movie that you're watching is not quite color corrected. Him and Robbie they had closed down the iris of the camera to make it darker because it's very bright in Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
And they had maintained that through the rest of the film, and during the process of who released it? TriStar?
It looked like it
through
was
the process of
TriStar, but
releasing
then it
it
was Fox also. Apparently.
Yeah, no, it
all over
was
the
20th
place.
had gotten it. Well, because it went from
Yeah.
Con to straight to the theaters, basically. May, and it was like, yeah,
wow.
put it in. But in order to print it, they printed it wrong. They printed it the way they wanted it. They didn't print it the way Vim wanted it.
Yeah.
So all of the first printings were brighter than him and Robbie wanted it.
So Robbie had shot it with a like a low f-stop, as they say, technically.
Right. That's what they technically did.
Yeah.
In order to find some gradient in the bright of Texas. Well, I've done it. I've had to shoot in Texas, and you gotta dial it down, man.
I'm from Texas, and
No
when I
way.
make my little movies, out in the bright daylight, even my little short films would be, I would use daylight film because it was so damn.
We dialed it down on cheaters.
Yeah, I used +X black and white on a vampire movie because it was so damn bright outside. You know, +X black and white's very low.
It's interesting. Speaking of the color there in the film, it's sort of a stark movie, and then until you get to Houston and you get a lot of blues and you got it's sort of urban, but there's not a lot of color except for Harry Dean's hat, his cap at the beginning.
Yeah, that's
the most striking thing. And I remember, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think I remember going to Harry Dean's Facebook page years ago. And I remember he had that picture, that still of him with the red hat on. Iconic, really. And I think that was like his favorite movie. I don't want to speak for him, but it seemed like he really had a lot of pride in that film.
That's his favorite film. That's his favorite. He's said that out loud to more than just me. That's his favorite movie.
How cool is that, though? How awesome is that?
It's good.
I mean,
and you're talking about like 4 to 6 weeks worth of shooting. You know what I mean? Like he did movies that were much longer and bigger and broader in form and scope. And come on, Cool Hand Luke.
But Harry Dean was one of those actors that always brought something. He always brought this realism. That was what's beautiful about him. To every movie, even a movie like Alien, he helped bring it more real.
He wore a baseball cap in that movie.
Yeah, and wore a baseball cap, constantly rolling joints in that movie. No, they weren't joints. I just picture they were joints, but when I watch it now. But yeah, I mean, that was what was great about Harry Dean Stanton. I mean, just bringing that realism. He had this real quality when he said lines, or even right down to being in a movie like Pretty in Pink and talking, your mother, she looked so pretty in that pink, like, I mean, just, anyway.
I mean, just
I'm getting all emotional now talking about Harry Dean. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So how was Vim with kids? Like as a director, was he good with children?
I'm the only child that I know, so he was good with me. One time he sat down and watched, I think he had to watch Thundercats with me because I wouldn't go on set until it was over, and so he sat and watched it. I'm serious.
What?
That was very nice. It was. I'm a huge Thundercats fan, dude.
Still waiting for them to adapt that.
Yeah, why don't they make a movie? Speaking of Thundercats, like where is the Thundercats film?
Man,
I don't know. How awesome would that be?
Hunter, you could play Lionel.
I don't want to play Lionel. I'd much rather play the bad guy. I think bad guys are much more fun.
Oh, Mum Ra or whatever his name was. Is that it? I'm trying to.
Yeah, no, but I actually want to go back to the hat. You mentioned the hat.
The red hat Harry Dean wears in Paris, Texas.
The last time I watched Paris, Texas, the red hat Paris, Texas that Harry Dean watched in the beginning. The very last time I watched it was here in Houston. They did a screening, and I actually stared at what on earth Harry Dean was wearing.
Yeah.
The hat. But if you look, and I'm not going to describe it because I need to actually honestly look at it again, but if you look at what he's wearing, he's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
There's obviously a dress code that he has had to adhere to, and then he put the cap on and left.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
wearing some sort, it's a
Like
suit
a suit, yeah.
and a tie and these goofy shoes, right? There's a car, it's like there's something going on that Vim's trying to tell us with the costume designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to look at it, but you're right. There's something that's being communicated in what he's wearing, and he doesn't wear it for long because as soon as Dean Stockwell shows up, he brings him that, man, that's a classy outfit, by the way. It's like a millennial outfit from 1984.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed.
It's like a hipster outfit.
It's like the most hipster outfit they could find in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
He's wearing that same kind of jacket you'd see Stanley Kubrick wearing all the time, that casual sports coat.
That's what I'm saying. It's this crazy wardrobe thing. Check out this crazy wardrobe thing that goes on in that movie.
No, I was totally paying attention to what he was wearing, and the red cap did stick out to me, and the sports jacket, blacks, and then the fact that the shoes have like the soles are worn. No,
there's something weird about it. There's something going on.
It's like he fled.
Yeah, he fled. But check
You're
out
right.
the
Like
tie.
he left the party.
Check out the
like
tie.
he ran.
Yeah.
I mean, like he ran away.
But he's wearing something that he shouldn't be wearing when he left. Check out the tie. The tie puts it all together.
That's what I think makes it so dreamlike there, because I'm like, I wonder if this is all in Travis's like dream kind of head mentality of, well, maybe, I mean, and that makes it more sad actually in a way, the way I'm talking about it, of course, because it's like, if this was all in his head, he didn't really reconcile.
I don't like your even more downer ending than already kind of is here, Jordan. You're trying to...
No, the movie is better the way it is.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I make depressing movies even more depressing.
I'm sorry. I make sadder movies sadder. I'm sorry. Now I want to cry.
Stay tuned for how The Woodsman really ended.
Exactly.
God, Jordan, jeez.
Okay, so let's get to. So you did the Fairy Tale Theater.
Oh yeah,
Fairy Tale Theater. Love Fairy Tale Theater. Thank you for finding that. It's really hard to find.
Yeah, that was the sharpest version that I sent you that I could find on YouTube. Good. But yeah, you acted with Harry Dean again in here.
Tell the folks under 40 what Fairy Tale Theater is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Fairy Tale Theater. Hunter acted in a segment of Fairy Tale Theater produced by Miss Shelley Duvall, the great Shelley Duvall of The Shining fame. She was a producer, and this was a series for Showtime back in the 80s. And it had every big actor in there, including, I remember renting this as a kid, and Christopher Reeve was in the Sleeping Beauty segment.
Yeah,
that's right.
How cool was that? I mean,
they got some names for sure.
Yep.
I mean, right down to, we had Rumpelstiltskin with Jeff Bridges. Yeah. And then we had Hunter and Harry Dean Stanton starring in Rip Van Winkle. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yep.
Wow.
That's crazy. God. Dude, it was crazy.
Yeah,
even had Chris Penn acting in this and Roy Dotrice acting in this segment of Fairy Tale Theater.
Rip Van Winkle.
Rip Van Winkle. And even Harry Dean played an older version of you with a blonde wig, as I love. Looking like the blonde hair you had as a kid. But you played his son in this, and then he played you older, basically, right? Am I
basically, right? Yep.
What was it like working on the Fairy Tale Theater episode?
The Fairy Tale Theater was really good. It was really, really good. That was a wonderful way to reconnect with Harry Dean. We did some rehearsals. Coppola was there. That was amazing.
Because Coppola likes to rehearse at least first.
He likes to rehearse. He likes to have fun. He likes to joke around. Honestly, from what I remember, it was mostly just the actors and Coppola and then the DP. The DP was working directly with Coppola. They would sit next to each other, whisper to each other. I mean, they were really great on this. It was fanciful. There was a lot of just silliness going on, but below the surface of it, honestly, it was my first experience doing TV, which is quicker And when I went back and did the pilot episode of Married with Children, that was sort of where I drew the energy from.
Yeah.
Because they do shoot it live. I mean, they do rehearsals and they shoot it live, but there's no audience there, obviously, when you're doing fairy tale theater.
Right. What soundstage were you on then? Was it like it was a small soundstage?
It was tiny. It was a TV stage.
Yeah.
It's a tiny stage that's more of an insert sort of stage. It's buried in a neighborhood off of Franklin and like Western.
Oh, okay, close to Sunset Strip in LA and all that.
Yeah, but it's way buried, man. It's
Buried
almost
still.
it's almost next to the 5. I mean, it's way over there.
Yeah, Franklin, which runs
Franklin and
Ivar
Western.
also,
No, like seriously, it's like
Interesting.
way
Okay, yeah.
over there. It's very it's close to Griffith
Yeah.
Park.
Cool.
And I mean, I don't even know if it's even there anymore. I mean, the property value is there. I don't even know if you'd want a studio for no reason. But it was more insert stages. It was nice. It wasn't like, because when you get to like, you know, Invaders took over like 3 or 4 stages, and then we moved to an island. I mean, that thing was massive.
We were
Wow.
getting to that. Invaders from Mars, directed by Tobe Hooper, starring you with Timothy Bottoms, Lorraine Newman,
Yeah, wow.
Louise
all-star cast.
Fletcher. I mean,
Louise
made
Fletcher.
by Canon Films, which I have to ask you about as well. But
Don't
this
forget
is
Karen Black.
and
Yeah,
starring your
Karen
mom,
Black.
co-starring your mom, Karen Black, as the school nurse.
And Bud Cort. Do you have any juicy Bud Cort stories?
Bud Cort's so nice. Bud Cort took me aside and was like, I was a child actor. I know what they're doing to you. Listen, you got to fight for every minute of sleep you can get, kid. I'm like, I'm going to bed. See you, bud. No, he was really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, he was fun. Timothy was great. Lorraine was great. Working with my mom was a little awkward sometimes because it could get a little, you know, family oriented.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, because you work with anybody close to you at any job. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah, of course. Toby's great.
You talked about how Toby, I think you told me once how Toby made it even more fun for you, like compared to, I guess, Vim, maybe more like, hey, it's playtime here, you know, like
Yes.
kind of
Well, Toby, yes. Toby and Vim, obviously different directors.
different directors, different styles, you know.
Different styles. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
slightly.
Slightly.
Toby Coppola, slightly different styles.
A little bit of different styles. Yeah. I you know, yes, Toby's fun. Toby's a kid. Toby liked to bounce around and have a good time. Vim never got frustrated. Toby got frustrated every day. Vim was trying to shoot small stuff. Toby was trying to shoot like the biggest things he could find.
Yeah.
He was having fun on that movie. I mean, I think they gave him a lot of leeway on Life Force because it was back to back.
Yeah,
That's right. Canon Films, Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus.
I want big.
It was big. It was big. And I was on the set of Chainsaw 2, which was the next
Also
one.
produced. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so what Canon Films did,
And written by your dad. Co-written by your dad.
Yeah. So what Canon Films did was they grabbed Toby and were like, "You're gonna make these movies for us," you know.
It was like a 2-picture deal or a 3-picture deal.
3.
Kind of thing. 3, yeah.
3.
Okay.
It was Life Force, which was an original.
Yep.
It was
of
the
course.
remake of Invaders.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then it was Chainsaw 2, which was supposed to be a scary horror movie,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's the campiest of all of the Chainsaws. And I
Yes.
think it's the best because it's so goofy.
It has a fan following for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I will say, you know what I think it has, which I love? I watched it on Halloween last year or so,
Oh, okay.
and it has a Cormac McCarthy quality.
Yeah,
to it,
yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love. It's like a
That's
No Country for Old
interesting.
Men,
It is like a No Country
or
for Old
a
Men.
Yeah.
or just like the Ridley Scott Cormac McCarthy adapted. Oh my God, I forgot the damn title. Geez, I can always remember titles, but anyway, but yeah, it's like a Cormac McCarthy kind of thing almost. It's like it's got a sense of humor, but it's really fucking demented at the same time. You know, that kind of thing.
You know, I think when you look back on it, Chop Top steals the movie for sure. Just
Oh, yeah.
on principle.
Uh-huh.
But you're getting some really dynamic performances that are getting lost in the we want a big horror movie, you know, dynamic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will tell you this. This story doesn't hold much water because it's just a conversation between Toby and I, and he's said other things throughout the years.
Mhm.
But when I was on the set of Chainsaw 2, I was asking him why he did this, because I mean, those are real chainsaws.
Yeah.
They're real. Like Dennis Hopper's really has like a rigged up, like he's carrying these mini chainsaws around with him, like that body thing
like they're
that
his
he was
guns
wearing
in a Western movie.
Yeah.
That's even more camp.
Or like
you know
his
what I mean?
swords in
He had
a
the
medieval
cowboy hat.
movie.
It was a gunslinging with the bad guys. I mean, it was showdown at high noon with chainsaws. So I'm like, but okay. So I was like, Toby, why are you doing this? Because they're real chainsaws and it's really loud, like all the time. And he goes, listen, when I was a kid, before I made the first one, my parents took me with them to an outdoor mall in Texas, because he's a Texan. And so we have these outdoor malls in Texas. They're not indoor, they're outdoor. So you walk around and you try to and so it was Christmas time. He goes, it was Christmas time, and they took me with them shopping. And they took me to an outdoor mall. And I couldn't go in the toy store because it was crowded. And I couldn't go in the parking lot and get in the car because cars were going around. I couldn't sit on the sidewalk because people were walking around, and I didn't want to be there. So the only place where nobody was buying anything for Christmas was the hardware store. So I walked in, it was warm, there wasn't anybody in there, and I was just freaking out, and I saw this wall of chainsaws, Hunter. I saw this wall of chainsaws, and I just wanted to take them and chop everybody up that was buying Christmas gifts.
And that's just like that scene with Hopper in the movie, right?
Yeah. I know, but I don't know if he was just playing with me, because he said, like I said, he said other things throughout the years. But that makes a lot of sense, because I've been to malls at Christmas time, and I wouldn't mind a chainsaw once in a while, especially in Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
What are your memories of Menachem Golan and Yoram Globus?
I don't even.
Do you have
remember
any memories?
Yeah. I really don't remember those.
Did you ever talk to them at all?
I'm sure I interacted with them. Of course I did.
Yeah.
There must have been.
You weren't at high level meetings there. You weren't sitting there with Toby.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I met them. I'm sure I know them.
Yeah, sure.
But at a certain point, I was the bad kid, because I would get loose and run around, and they'd have to find me. There were huge sets. It was a lot of work. There were a lot of long days. It was very rewarding. I mean, that's a huge movie. I flipped it on for my family the other day. They wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
It's a big movie. I mean, I'm looking at the opening scene, and I'm like, I'm in a giant soundstage with these 12-foot fans blowing the wind around, and I'm just like, and there's cameras everywhere, and to think about that, and to think about the two, maybe less than 24 people that made Paris, Texas.
Yeah.
And 2 years, this is 2 years later.
Yeah. That was a small crew by comparison. And you're on a big movie.
It's a small crew even today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
That's one of Canon's biggest films ever, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was back when they were spending the big money trying to really make big films.
These were sets designed by Les Dilley, who worked on Alien. I mean, he was an art director on Alien. I mean, this was John Dykstra effects, and then Stan Winston effects. I mean, this is Stan Winston before he's really Stan Winston. After Terminator, though, at least Stan Winston. Anyway, but
I loved it as a kid. I mean, years before I ever met you, Hunter, but I love this. I had this on tape and I wore it out. It was so much fun watching this film as a kid.
If you guys like technical stuff, the lights that they used are called Very Lights. They were a brand new technology in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you look them up, they actually became industry standard. And one of those technical gentlemen that you just talked about invented those for that movie specifically. So there's some really gooey, delicious lighting stuff going on. If you really dug down into it, there's some really remember that magazine that they used to have that was a sci-fi technical magazine?
Starlog?
Anyway, I don't remember. I used to collect them, but it had all the cool stuff. That was in one of them. That movie was a big deal.
Yeah.
It was
I
very
remember.
technical. It was really like they innovated a lot of stuff. And the whole time Toby was working on it, he was also editing Life Force because it was coming
Yeah.
out.
Oh, that's
And,
right.
you
Which I
know,
love
and
Life Force, honestly. That's
Wow.
a
Life
great
Force
movie
is
too.
great.
I
That's
told
a-
him
that's
when
a
you
wild
introduced
movie.
me to Toby, I told him that I told him how much I love Life Force when you introduced me to him years ago.
Yeah, Life Force is great. These space vampires, man.
Yeah, I mean, the space
Yeah,
vampire.
huge cult hit now. Never forget it. You'll never unsee Life Force. No.
Dude, right? Seriously, the ending.
It sticks with you in a
the
good way. Yeah.
ending?
Yeah.
Like that, like how did Toby get away with the ending? I don't even know if you could do that ending today. Like
Yeah.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like how did he get away with that?
I mean, plus he had a naked woman walking through the whole
Walking
first
around.
half of the movie. That's
Yeah.
what's crazy. I mean, and she's the vampire basically. And I mean, this is like no other vampire movie either. Life Force. It's like the movie, the best movie Hammer Films never made back in
Yeah.
the day. And I could picture that was probably an influence there. Hammer and Toby mentioned Quatermass was an influence when I talked to him.
Yeah, it's more of a European film than Paris, Texas was even. It just like it feels
Yeah,
it's
like
true.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's
There's
true.
a different sensibility here. The Britishness just oozed into the story. I don't know.
I know
But-
when I first saw Invaders from Mars, it was and by the way, of course, Life Force makes an appearance in Invaders from Mars when you're watching it on TV.
Yep, sure does.
But when I was watching it as a kid, same deal. I mean, you were close to the same age as me. So watching it as a kid on video, it was like I was you. I was picturing myself in your shoes. That was the adventure every kid wants to have at 9 or 10 years old, is to find an alien spaceship in his backyard that, to tell his parents not to go into a scary journey. I mean, every kid wants an adventure like that, where his parents get kidnapped by aliens. Come on.
Come on, that's every kid's dream.
Very Campbellian.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you. I guarantee you that all my kids want me to get kidnapped by an alien.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure. They're like, oh, I mean, they'll be, not only would they be famous, something to talk about forever, but, now I'm not around and they can do whatever they want. I think that's the real perspective right there.
Did you do a lot of press on that? Did they push that a lot?
I didn't do a lot when it was coming out. I remember the EPK. I did some EPK stuff, and I did some interviews, and I remember a little bit of it, but I don't remember very much of the press stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the interview. There's a making of on the old MGM DVD.
Oh yeah,
it's a double feature with Strange Invaders, but I think there's a making of with you on there where you're interviewed, and they say, starring young Hunter Carson, and you say you knew Toby since before you were born, pretty much. Hell knows when, something like that in the EPK interview.
Yeah, Toby was always around.
Hmm.
Toby would hang out with Kinky Friedman and my dad. Kinky and Kit and Toby would hang out when I was a kid. I remember all three of them. Yeah, they would hang out. All three of those guys.
I didn't never know Kinky hang out with. I see. This is where you always shock me with this stuff. I always ask you for these stories, and it's like they always come out of nowhere with you. But yeah, I never knew Kinky Friedman was in the mix. Jeez.
When I was a little kid, he was around all the time.
Wow.
Him and Toby and my dad would hang out. I remember that. But, my mom and my dad split up very early, probably right around Paris, Texas. I would think 83. It was in between Breathless with Richard Gere and The Making of Paris, Texas.
That's right, because your dad wrote the screenplay for it.
Right. That was the split up.
Oh, wow. What a time.
I mean, it was a long time ago, so, it is what it is.
I mean, I went through a divorce when I was close to that age. I mean, I went through a divorce when I was turning into teen years, but so I can relate. So
Jordan, this podcast is about me.
Yeah.
Sorry, just anyway.
No, so how was it
You're
being
right.
a kid growing up in Hollywood? Did you spend a lot of your time in Hollywood or Texas or in between?
I mean, briefly, like I worked in Hollywood until like 1988, 1989.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was I was kind of over it. And I kind of just took a break from acting. I actually just wanted to go to school and be a normal kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was a teenager, I actually went and auditioned for a bunch of stuff. When I was 17, 18, for about 4 years, I would go to LA in the summers. and audition. And then if I could find something when I was working and going to school throughout the 90s, I did. And then I moved to Texas, honestly, and that was pretty much the end of trying to get acting roles is when I moved to Texas. I was more focused on writing. I was more focused on directing. I was working at a film festival and kind of learning what the distribution process would be if I was going to be, sort of writing and producing and directing my own films. That's neither here nor there. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You remember, but I remember you, didn't you work as a PA in your teen years for a while? Like on stuff that your dad worked on again, I thought, like Love Crimes.
Yeah, I've progressed absolutely.
With Sean Young. And
I was a PA on that, but I got a bunch of got a bunch of credits.
Stuff like that, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I did a lot of behind the scenes work to earn money, and I also really enjoyed it. It helped me work on creating my role as a producer, which is what I do now. I like to produce TV shows, and actually, I produce TV commercials. I used to produce a TV show called Cheaters. I'm not sure that I would go back. That was a really fun show, but it was like 100-hour weeks trying to keep up with all the footage we get with the detectives and trying to find. It was a lot.
I remember.
I don't know if I'd do a TV show again.
Being with you on Cheaters, and because you brought me on.
Yeah, that started in '99.
And I remember it was how I saw how reality TV worked, essentially, as a machine.
Yeah.
You would shoot it. Sometimes it would be real. Sometimes it would be blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Exactly. It would be enhanced.
It would be enhanced or embellished, as we used to say.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it would go through the machine. It'd go through the editing and the sound. And that would basically fix everything in the end and make it all better. And and then a show would come out of there, and it was amazing. It was dramatic.
Well, because what you're looking at is hours and hours of footage with multiple cameras.
Yeah. We had about 6 or 7 cameras total.
So the deal is you have to line these cameras up, right?
Yeah.
Technical again. You have to line the footage up and just sort of go with it. And you just sort of figure out what's best, what worked, what didn't work, where the emotion is. You know what I mean? Because, when you're out there.
It was interesting, though. It was a documentary style I saw with y'all at Cheaters.
I mean, how long were the busts that you were on? I mean, we would be out there for hours on end collecting footage and chasing people down. I mean, it was like,
Well, it was weird for me because I was confused. I thought it was fake, and then I thought it was real, and then I was confused at whether it was real or fake the whole time. A lot of times.
It was real.
It was a dream, just like Paris, Texas.
It was a dream, like Paris.
Yeah.
It was real.
But no, it was. We would be out there for about 9. We'd be out there about 2 hours.
And sometimes
shooting.
We'd be out there late at night. You know?
I remember we did 2 in a row one night. You had us y'all had us do 2 in a row one night. And
Not
it was
my
like
fault.
2 in the morning we were done. Not
Yep.
y'all. Okay, I shouldn't say y'all.
Not my fault.
Texas
those
term.
are the detectives.
Just waiting for someone to get home from work or something to catch somebody.
Waiting for someone to get home or something to happen, man. There was a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
Like being a wildlife photographer.
It was very documentary-like, basically. It was the most documentary.
Well, it was a documentary. I mean, you have to go into public or private places with cameras and find out what happens. It's not like we knew what was going to happen. We had an idea.
And we would go into these public areas sometimes and just do shit out in the open.
Right.
Without any permission.
Well, sometimes there was more permission than,
I don't know what to say. Now I don't know what I can say for having worked on there.
How did you get involved in Cheaters?
Yeah, how did you get involved?
My friend Robert Pascal Jr., who just produced The Old Way, which was a theatrical release, came out in 22. He was involved in the creation of Cheaters, and he brought me on board just as someone to work on the set when we were out doing stuff, and then that quickly turned into a full-time job for me.
I remember, Bobby.
Bobby was a buddy of mine from growing up, and he actually ended up directing me in a movie later on, and
Yeah, Robert's. I remember his mom worked for Orion, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Back when Orion was a thing. Orion that produced RoboCop, the original.
She worked on that.
His uncle's Peter Weller.
That's his uncle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Robert Pascal Jr.'s uncle is Peter Weller. And
I remember that. I remember
his
him.
mom's maiden name is Weller. What's her name? Oh, she'll kill me if I don't remember her name. Oh no. Oh, I'm in for
I was
a
Facebook friends
beating.
with her.
I hope she listens to this and calls Bobby before she calls me. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
So that was an early reality show.
that was a very early reality show. We had a lot of calls from people like radio shows wanting to know how we were doing it, like famous radio shows, and some, guys on Comedy Central loved us. One of our detectives was on, what was Joel McHale's one?
Talk Soup.
Talk Soup. One of our detectives was on Talk Soup a couple times. It had a fandom
Melinda
for a
Pascal,
while.
right? That was her?
Linda. Thank you, Linda. I totally knew it was your name. I was just testing Jordan. Linda. Duh. Linda Pascal, my friend. Yeah.
But yeah. That's right. We had Detective Gomez.
That's right.
Daniel Gomez.
Detective Danny Gomez.
He had been on Talk Soup.
Yeah. He was one of our main guys. I think he still has a detective agency.
He was the investigations guy that would investigate the cheaters. Yeah, and he had an investigative license.
Yeah. He was I think he still has an investigation company up in Dallas.
Oh, really?
Wow. Still doing the good work.
I can't tell if Cheaters is still on or if they're just reruns. I cannot tell.
Nobody knows. That's right. It's like Cops. Did they ever cancel it? I don't know. Is Tommy Habib still there? What's going on? Is he like 60?
Well, you were on when Joey Greco was the host.
I was in the Joey Greco era.
And then after that, they had Clark Gable's grandson.
CG3.
No
that's right.
Greco.
Clark Gable III.
Yeah.
And then they
CG3.
CG3.
Yeah,
that was what I heard the name was. I was only Joey Greco.
That was the era I was on too with you.
Joey and I ended up parting ways with Cheaters a little bit before that. It was mainly a product of the Great Recession, honestly. I would probably still be working for that company if things were different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a fun experience. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I really want to come back to the podcast.
Anything you want to plug?
I don't have a plug right now, but I will have a plug soon.
Yeah, come back and talk about a movie with us if you want.
That I would like to talk about with you guys, but it's slow forming.
Oh, we're slow forming. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's this podcast.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on, old buddy. We appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll have you back on if you want to talk about a movie with us. Absolutely. If you want to dissect
pick a film and just come and hang.
Yeah, pick a film. Come to
Have
hang.
you guys done? Was it Rowdy Roddy Piper? What is it?
Hell Comes to Frogtown?
They're here.
They live.
Oh,
they
sorry.
live.
They live.
Oh, they live.
They live. Hell Comes to Frogtown. What is Hell Comes to Frogtown? Yeah, the John Carpenter movie.
It's They
We
Live.
haven't done They Live yet by John Carpenter.
Oh, you've never seen?
I've never seen that. They Live. I want to watch that movie and then be like, talk to you about it after the very first time I've seen it. That's what I'd like to do.
Oh fuck! You've never seen that movie,
That is a deal,
dude.
That is a deal.
I want you guys to get the reaction of me going like, and then that, and then that.
Fuck yeah, we'll have you on. Shit. Come
hell
back
yeah.
and talk to us. Oh damn it! I promise I would. Okay, I put $1 in the swear jar, Anthony. I'm sorry. I promise I wouldn't curse on this podcast.
I'm not your mom, but thanks for the
Anyway.
dollar.
I know.
Hey, great to see you guys.
Yeah, good talking to you,
I
old
appreciate
chum,
it.
old brother.
Do the outro. This is Hunter signing off. Do the outro.
Hunter, would you like to sign off with the robots took my would you like to say the robots took my podcast?
This is Hunter Carson on the Robots Took My Podcast. Have a lovely night.
The robots took my podcast, man.
All trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.